Good evening. My name is Dominic Pavoni, and I'm here to introduce your mayor. This is his 5th year of being mayor, and I know that he really cares about the city of Renton. And who wouldn't? It's a wonderful place to live. Tonight, my dad will be discussing the important things happening in the city. He'll also talk about the amazing people who work for the city. I'm very proud of him and I hope you enjoy his presentation. Please welcome to the stage Mayor Armando Pavoni.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. First, I want to thank Vox Lumini, I want to say their names correctly, from Hazen High School. Can we give them another round of applause? And second, I want to thank my son Dominic for introducing me. That's really a pleasure. Having your kid introduce you is really kind of surreal and magical. So thank you very much for joining me tonight to celebrate some of the accomplishments of the past year and looking forward to 2024. My name is Armando Pavoni, and it's my honor to serve you as your mayor of the city of Renton. A little about me: I'm a lifelong Renton resident. I graduated from Renton High School right here. Go Red Hawks. And for the last, I don't know how many years, I guess since 1985, I've owned and operated restaurants here in Renton. My wife Angela and my 2 boys, and we chose to raise them here in Renton. I want to stop for a minute and say I know that we've got other elected officials here. Being an elected official comes with some challenges and some rewards, but I'll say that it's really a challenge for the family members. And I want to thank my family for putting up, especially my wife Angela, for putting up with some of the things that you have to do as an elected official. So thank you, all of you, the wives and kids of elected officials. So I ran a number of years back as a way to give back to the community. That was really what got me into running for council. And then a few years later, actually 6 years later, I ran for mayor as the previous mayor was leaving. I'm now starting my 2nd term. Last year, we had the state of the city, and we had 3 years to cover, and it was a lot of material. I also learned a lot about giving a presentation in State of the City, and tonight we're going to do things a little differently. One of the things I've learned over the years is that people don't want to hear how we're doing our jobs or that we're doing our jobs. They really want to know what we're doing. They want to know why we're doing it, and hopefully we're going to provide some of that tonight. I'll give you an overview of our direction in each department and bring some in-depth updates from our staff. So our vision: the backbone of being a successful organization is creating a culture of trust and continual growth and learning. And I want to start by saying that Renton as a city is a very successful organization. True to our vision statement, we're the center of growth in the Puget Sound region, and the talented staff we attract and retain is a real example of that. Simply put, it's our responsibility to have people who care deeply about the long-term growth of our city. I'd like to recognize our council members tonight. I can't see you, but I'm sure you're here in the audience with us. So we have Council President Ed Prince. Council Member and President Pro Tem James Alberson Jr. is here. Council Member Ryan McGurven. Council Member Ruth Perez. Council Member Valerie O'Halloran. Council Member Carmen Rivera. And Council Member Kim Convan. Next, I wanted to talk about our leadership team, the administrators that work here at the city, and I could really go on all day about this group of people. We are extremely lucky to have the leadership we have in the city, and I'm going to announce their names here, and as we go along, I'll talk a little bit about them. But first is our Chief Administrative Officer, Ed Van Bailey. Ed is a Renton resident, and he actually started his professional career in the Parks Department and was with the police department for a number of years and was our chief of police until we asked him to come up and join me in the mayor's office. Next is Christy Rowland, who's our deputy chief administrative officer. John Schultz, who's our chief of police. Brianna Bansworth, the interim community and economic development administrator. Mary Jane Van Cleef, Parks and Recreation Administration. Ellen Bradley Mock, Human Resource and Risk Management Administrator. And I have to stop there for a minute because Ellen is retiring with us shortly. She's going to be extremely difficult to replace. Ellen has been with us a number of years, and human resources is a very important role, and she has done an amazing job for us. So that will be a tough replacement, and we really appreciate her service over the years. I know you're out there somewhere. Martin Pastusha, Public Works Administrator. Carrie Roller, our Finance Administrator. And Shane Mahoney, our city attorney. I truly can't thank you enough for the dedication you guys show to this city. So the boards and commissions, we are really lucky to have a lot of volunteers in the city of Renton, and the work we do would not be as accomplished without these individuals that support these groups. I believe we have close to or possibly more than 20 boards and commissions, and I think we had some of the volunteers actually helping seat people today. So I want to thank you all for the many hours of service, sharing diverse viewpoints, experience, and perspectives that help us define our city policies and keep us focused on efficient and effective delivery of services. Yes. The city operation cover a large area, and our department administrators have the responsibility for their subject area. As mayor, I'm tasked with, along with our chief administrative officer, tasked with bringing all of those pieces together. So my first term goals and my second term goals, I probably shouldn't have notes for that, so I can just talk about it. My first term coming in, I have to say that I inherited a high-functioning city. Our city was run very well. The previous administration had done a lot of things right, and the city was put in a good financial position. The things that really caught my eye that I thought I could add value to and I thought we could do a better job were two areas, and that's economic development and communication. We'll talk a little bit more about economic development later, and actually communication. Communication's changed over the years. You know, it used to be very static. You would get information and you would put it out to individuals. Social media has really changed the way that people consume and interact with communication. And I think it's imperative that the city also changes the way we communicate with our residents, allowing for platforms for interaction and two-way dialogue. The other part of my goal in the first term and the second term is customer service. I have kind of a deep-rooted belief that city government should provide customer service, and that should be throughout our lines of work. Everything we do should be about providing customer service to the residents and businesses of our community. The new goal for this term, Renton is a growing city. We did have an annexation a few years ago. We have small annexations that come and go, but we've got a lot of infill development. We have a lot of new businesses moving to town. And as Renton has grown, it's imperative that we now really look at right-sizing the city. And what I mean by that is our internal services and our external services. Do we have enough people in the right places? Are we providing the right level of services to the residents, whether it's the number of parks or whether it's the number of employees in a certain line of business in public works? So as the city has grown, I think the best example of this is in public works a few years ago. We were looking at solid waste collection, and we came to find out that we had 2 solid waste collectors, and that's the same number we had when we were a city of about 28,000. And so it's things like that that we need to look at through the next couple of years and make sure that we are right-sized in all of our departments and all of the services that we provide. The city's needs change. The city is a large organization. We employ over 650 people. As part of our commitment to continuous improvement, we evolve and grow, we test out new solutions, and we find the right way to get things done. In 2024, we had a reorganization as part of that. This year, we saw reorganization in this department. City Council approved a department reorganization on December 4th to redistribute the Equity, Housing, and Human Service Division to multiple city departments to better service the needs of our community. And I want to start off by saying we created this department as a way to look at these critical services and find better ways to provide these critical needs and services. And I really want to thank Mary Jan Van Cleef. We asked her to head that department, and she took a deep dive into all of these lines of businesses. And the result was we are going to be able to do this work by moving these lines of businesses in each one of these areas of service. Without going into long detail about why and which, once again, you don't care about us doing our business, you want to know why we're doing it. At the end of the day, these are very important lines of business. They're going to be well served in the new departments, and we're going to fund them correctly. Human services is a changing need in our community. The next graph, I think, will show that. We're increasing our investment in human services. This reorganization helps us, and this is probably the best demonstration of some of the work that was done in EHHS. Yes. So continued growth. We also continue to grow with annexations. We have increased the population and geography we serve, and to maintain those service levels, we need to add staff and services. This has been a year which we've recruited for 115 positions, both full and part-time. Organizations and adjustments to structure are ongoing and will always be part of our culture. It will always be part of our high-functioning culture. We see this as a reflection of this in our services. When we give our staff the right tools and the right support, we see commitment to excellence. The last note that's not up there is how we retain our staff. And I say commitment to staff, I bring this from the small business area. You know, as a small business operator, taking care of your staff is wildly important, and it certainly is in a large organization like ours. We provide our staff with excellent benefits programs, including a wellness program, flexible work schedules, and hybrid options, and competitive salaries. When we take care of our employees take care of the organization, and in turn, the community in the best possible way. We have an award-winning staff. I'm going to brag about some of our accomplishments right now. The first is the Governor's Smart Communities Award. We've been awarded 2 of these in the last 2 years. We've actually been awarded a Smart Governor's Community Award the last 10 years. We were talking about this earlier, and we believe there's somewhere between 10 and 11 of these given out per year. So the fact that we're getting 2 of them in a year shows the kind of work that we're doing in our planning departments. Our finance department just received their 30th annual Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting, which is the highest form of recognition in the area of government accounting. And I have to talk about that a little bit too. The finance departments in a lot of cities during COVID decided to not go through the process. It's a very lengthy process to get that achievement. And even with all of the ARPA funding and all of the extra work that was put on our finance department, they still felt it was necessary to go through those steps to achieve that award. So I really want to thank them for that extra effort. Yes, exactly. Securing grants is also a very critical part of city government. Our efforts in securing state and federal grants this year reached an all-time high, showing these projects are submitting to, for getting attention as innovative solutions. You can see the change there. Customer service. One of my primary focus points across all city functions has been the focus on customer service. Public service really is customer service. Public service and this is public service, and the burden shouldn't be on our residents to figure out how to work with the city. It's on us to figure out how to serve our residents. Accessibility of our programs and services. We need to make the programs that we have available easily accessible to Renton, and we need to publicize these things like our housing repair assistance program, which competes minor health and safety home repairs to eligible Renton residents to help keep homes safe and affordable while maintaining the quality of their neighborhoods. Large-scale customer service projects, like our new website. Our clerk's office, we're digitizing records for transparency to make it easier to search and find documents. This is one that's new, and actually I'm very impressed by this. It comes out of our planning department and economic development, and that is the Small Business Liaison Program. And this is something that's actually, other cities aren't even doing this, and I'm surprised that our team came up with this. This is having a staff member that can provide service to businesses that are currently here, or small businesses that want to become a business, or entrepreneurs that are looking to do business in Renton. Instead of having to fight their way through the system, we have one person that can be accessed to help them work their way through the system. It's a fantastic idea, and I really look forward to it. The other is citywide CEPTED. This is something that I've been preaching for a while. I think that it will have a huge improvement on our city. I've tasked all of our city departments to work on CEPTED strategies. CEPTED stands for Crime Prevention Through Environmental Design. This means we consider visibility, lighting, and access potential are all considered when we are planning and looking to construct or renovate our current structures or assets. So that's like our parks and our city buildings. It will be very noticeable as we go forward. Outreach and advocacy. Part of the work of this role, the work of my role, is I serve as an advocate for Renton's interests on local, county, state, and federal levels. A few of the boards and commissions that I sit on would be SCA, PSRC, RPC, and then there's some local organizations that cities have band together to provide services like SCORE and Valleycom. Government relations is one of our focus points. We want Renton to have an active voice in the federal, state, and regional legislature. This year, we'll bring on a full-time government relations staffer in the executive service department and the mayor's office to focus on the needs throughout the year. For years, for probably as long as I've been involved with the city of Renton, we've had a government liaison person named Doug Levy, and he's really been remarkable. The work he's done for the city has been amazing, and him retiring and filling that position is absolutely critical for the city. Our legislative goals this year, it's a short session, so our goals are matching the short session. Our transportation infrastructure, we're active ensuring transportation and transit projects that impact Renton drivers and commuters under the 2022 Move Ahead Washington funding move forward as soon as possible. We want projects that the Renton community expects from WashDOT to come to life. We're also asking for infrastructure to reduce speeding. Speeding is something we'll talk about in a little bit. Also, funding tools and support for our vulnerable populations. We highly support legislative initiatives and funding proposals to assist the city's programs in advancing support for vulnerable populations. This includes additional resources for affordable housing and human services. We support the establishment of a housing benefit district to fund the Housing Trust Fund and to relax state restrictions to allow surplus properties to help finance affordable homeownership projects. Advocacy and listening. The other part of this external advocacy work is deep commitment to listening to you, the residents. Last year we had our first community survey in 6 years. This told us a lot about how you, our residents, view our strengths and showed us where our opportunities for growth are. Some of our strengths. You told us we do well in protecting water quality, providing safe neighborhoods during the day. Some of our highest scores were focused around staff, that city staff are courteous, knowledgeable, and responsive. We hear that openness to inclusion is highly rated by our residents, and we do well in reaching out to diverse audiences. We heard that we're doing well in protecting Renton's streams, lakes, and watersheds. Our Renton Police Department is approachable, and we maintain parks and trails well. Some of our opportunities. We've had opportunities on building out new approaches. These include the confidence in safety at night and communicating better on our efforts around development services, disaster preparation, and code enforcement. Serving in the role of mayor also means I have to be responsible for working with our administrative staff. We're an extremely large organization. It takes an incredible group of people to run a city and to plan ahead for the next 40 years. I'd like to highlight some of the work we're doing in our city departments tonight. I'm going to begin with executive services. Our executive service department includes communication, information technology, our clerk's office, organizational development, and not on my notes is emergency management. And this is led by our Deputy Chief Administrative Officer. This is another example of the power of restructuring. We created the Executive Service Department through matching our organization's goals, supported through our optimal teams and resources. The first is the comms department, communication. My philosophy here was that our communication structure needed to evolve to respond to our audience. Communication needs to be two-way, colorful, and immediate. During the past year, we have worked to modernize our internal information flow and staff a team that can execute this vision. As part of two-way dialogue, there are a number of innovations happening to facilitate conversations, from receptions planned with our cultural calendar to the addition of engagement staff. We have input from Equity Commission and the Mayor's Inclusion Task Force. I hope you are able to meet a few of the task force members. I know they're here as greeters tonight. Customer service. Customer service is our other big goal. You'll hear a little more about Renton Responds in the video. Renton Responds is something that I've asked staff to really take a deep dive in. It's an app that allows residents and businesses really to communicate deeply on what's going on in Renton. It allows us to get our resources and to allocate those resources in the most efficient and best way. So if you don't have Renton Responds, please download it tonight when you get home. Technology. It's also one of the driving forces here. We want to make our city competitive and take advantage of ways to deliver more value in efficient ways. Technology in city is growing like you can't believe. This year we started a new capital improvement plan. Simply put, it has a greater role in running a city now than ever. Investment in tech is a priority. Maintaining and keeping up with new tech is crucial. The CIP list, for the first time ever, we've actually started a CIP. As technology grows and changes, we need to be able to update it. Probably the most recent example of that is we've had the same financial system for 20 years. It touches every department in the city, and we're in the process of updating it. We're expanding equitable accesses to Wi-Fi throughout upgrades at community centers. AI. I don't even know where to start on this one. So I had the opportunity to go back to Washington, D.C. for a conference of mayors. And I would say the better part of 50% of the breakout sessions included some conversation around AI. And most of the conversation talked about AI is coming. AI could be good, AI could be bad. And so basically tonight I'm telling you that we're keeping a close eye on it. There are some AI things that are part of our city business now, but I think AI is, well, it's basically heading at us like a freight train, and we're definitely preparing for all of it, the good and the bad. New website in 2024. We're using new tools to communicate, including our interactive data visualization tool. Basically, these are, what do they call them? Dashboards. You can see this on our website and get into really great data and demographics. You'll be able to interactively go through these. This kind of data enables us to really dive into where we have uncovered opportunities. Organizational development. Our organizational development function was added under the executive service umbrella a year and a half ago. And simply put, it's continuous improvement. We evaluate processes. We have lots of internal training and professional development. And in the end, we show results. Part of that accountability is within transparency, and our clerk's office is at the center of keeping us honest, transparent, and above board. Virtual meetings as an equity point. We upgraded our city council chambers to be retrofitted to broadcast council meetings and committee of the whole meetings. This makes a huge difference in accessibility for our residents who can't make it to City Hall that want to watch meetings. So if you'd like to, you can tune in on Monday nights, 6 o'clock for Cal and 7 o'clock for the council meetings. We'd love to have as many people show up in person, but if you can't, certainly tune us in. Accessibility of records and transparency to the public. One of the largest undertakings we brought on is the digitizing of our forms. Over 400,000 documents in the last 3 years are now digital and easily accessible to the public. We see residents looking at budgets, residential building permits, and long-term planning documents. This is a big deal in having public interface and making our official documents easier to access and to increase transparency. Absolutely. Public records requests. Having more digitized documents means we're able to respond fast to public records requests with an average turnaround of 4 days. That gives you a better access to our government. This is part of our work to increase the trust you have in your local city government. And next, we're going to hear from the executive service staff.
So I've been a Renton resident for about 8 years now. And one of the things that I really love about the city of Renton is just the diversity of this city.
My favorite part of working with the community is the involvement that the city has with the community and the want of the community to be involved with Renton.
What I love about the Renton community is just the impact the residents have on the direction that the city generally takes.
You know, communications has changed so rapidly over the last 10 years, and we're seeing that change again and again at a pace year over year. And so rather than asking our residents to come to us to get information, we're proactively going out to find out where they're receiving it and meeting them where they are.
Organizational development and performance plays a key role in fostering the type of culture and collaborative work environment in the city. One that supports staff, focuses on engagement and collaboration, and creates the type of atmosphere that ultimately leads to a better experience for our residents.
One of the things I love most about working in this division is that we have leadership within the city that really realizes that communications is changing at an ever-evolving pace. We're seeing more ways that people receive news in new and different ways right now, most specifically from their communities. Realizing that we're the 17th most diverse city in the nation, we have opportunities to connect with new and different audiences and make sure that our message is being received and heard, as well as that people are actively engaged in things that matter to them.
Renton Responds is one of the initiatives that organizational development and performance oversees. Renton Responds really just creates an easy and seamless way for community members to report issues or concerns at any time. And then the 25 various divisions that work out of Renton Responds will put solution into action. We've seen a significant increase in the last year, up about 10% from 2022, resulting in about 6,000 total requests for 2023.
One of the biggest projects we'll be working on in 2024 is the launch of a new website. And this is really to enhance our transparency yet again, make sure that things are easier to find within the site and that we've got a lot more user experience that is easier to navigate for end consumers. We want to make sure that you have the opportunity to engage with us in our digital lobby in the same way you would with our traditional face-to-face format.
We are willing to ask hard questions. We are asking them to look at things through a different lens, to consider going back and maybe changing something in service to being more equitable to community.
So when COVID happened, we had to quickly adjust to virtual meetings. And at the time, while virtual platforms were available, the city didn't really have the infrastructure in place to do that. So over the last 3.5, 4 years, we have completed a $350,000 project to allow virtual meetings at council meetings, public meetings. The virtual component to the council meetings now allows residents who may have either accessibility issues or just scheduling issues that don't allow them to participate in person. They can now join the council meetings virtually and still participate in the civic process.
The IT strategic plan helped identify gaps that were in IT and also point us in the right direction to make sure that we're bringing the best technology solutions to the city and the community.
As part of one of the ways we're expanding our outreach, we are adding new staff roles to our division, and that includes a community outreach coordinator. We've added a new communications specialist to our team to produce video content for Channel 21, and we've really taken a full look at how we can produce content on multiple platforms that is meaningful to audiences and reach people in different ways.
Yeah, one of the IT strategic goals was to optimize and modernize technology. So we've expanded Wi-Fi at several of the city community centers and parks. We've introduced tools on dashboarding and data analysis. One of the points behind expanding our Wi-Fi at community centers and the senior center was to improve equity and access to all Renton residents.
Equity is really realizing our situatedness and saying, you know what, we are not all situated the same, we are not all starting with the same resources or access, and we really need to be able to give people what they need in order to thrive.
What we have done in the last few years is digitize nearly every document the city owns. And so since 2021, we have digitized nearly 420,000 documents. The benefit of digitizing documents is that we are able to fulfill public records requests in 4 days or less on average. In 2024, we look forward to continuing our efforts to make public records accessible and equitable to city residents.
In support of the mayor's goals on enhancing communications and enhancing customer service, one of the things we're really trying to do within the communications division is to actively get out more content so that people know what's happening in advance. We want people to be proactive within their local government. We want opportunities for people to be involved in the civic process, and we want to also educate our community on what your local government does for you, what resources are available to you, and what projects are coming down the pipeline that may have an impact on your day-to-day life.
So there's a lot at stake, right, in terms of really ensuring that there's an intentional equity lens on the work that the City of Renton is doing currently and planning to do in the future.
right, thank you. Parks and Recreation. Within our Parks Department, we have a new administrator as of this year. Parks and Recs is one of the most visible areas of business in the city of Renton. Our Parks Department is one of our shining jewels, and it's one of our greatest opportunities. The new Parks Administrator and I have had lots of conversation about the direction the Parks Department needs to go, our challenges and our benefits. I think it's part of the whole idea of right sizing. Our philosophy around developing our parks is to listen to our residents and reinvest in our existing parks, but also to reimagine our long-range park planning so that better reflects the needs of our community in the post-COVID era. So one of the things we're seeing is that stay-at-home work has changed the way people interact with the city. Folks are working, they used to work at an office and come home and want to be home. And now folks are working at home and they want to get out. And so outdoor activities and parks are becoming more and more vital to residents and people living in the city. And having different opportunities is becoming more and more important. One of the things that we've also had long conversations about is reimagining our assets. Some of the assets that we have that are older, Liberty Park, we're one of the few cities that actually has a baseball diamond in their downtown core. Carco Theater, some of the more old cinder block building and parks. It's like, let's reimagine what the potential is with those, and also make sure that we're able to maintain our parks at the level we want to maintain them. Providing the level of services, hear what the residents are looking for in our parks, and make sure that that's what we're providing. We want Renton parks to be able to be used by residents and local businesses first. One of the things about parks is there's a lot of demand on our parks. A lot of organizations from outside of Renton want to use our parks for any number of reasons, and we're happy to allow that. But at some point, we need to make sure that we manage the use of the park so we have time for maintenance and upgrade. And we want to make sure that Renton residents have first access to these amenities. For the first time, we're also making a point to host cultural events. For the first time, we are also making a point to host events for the public that are reflective of our population here in Renton throughout the year. So we've started working with our diverse community and having events. We've had a Lunar New Year and a couple of different events already, and I believe there's one this Saturday, Lights of Color down at Coulon, and really trying to help our community and lift up their events during the appropriate time of year that they're to be celebrated. The last with the park, there's also the climate focus. There are additional points here that we'll hear from our Parks Department in a moment, but I want to touch on our commitment to environment stewardship and increasing the number of trees within our community. Throughout the city, we want to see green space and high air quality index rising throughout the city. Our urban forestry initiative really seeks to go further there. Under Parks Department is also Human Services. As part of the reorg, we'll be investing millions of dollars into human services this year. This is one of the numbers that had a profound effect on the way I view our outreach as a city. The number of those in need of service are primarily women and children. So providing services has changed very dynamically and very quickly. And part of the work that we did in EHHS is to really evaluate the city's roles and resources and how we can best support these communities. There's a lot of change going on. We're going to be spending a lot more money. The one thing that we're doing that's very unique is investing dollars upstream in our youth. We really want to lean in on helping stop some of the things that people are experiencing early. There's really is kind of an invisible homeless out there. You know, we see individuals that are suffering from homeless, that are sleeping in tents in the parks and under bridges. The ones you don't see are the single mom with a child that's living in her car under the bridge, or the family that's car surfing or couch surfing. And those individuals, we really want to be able to find ways to support and help and provide services to lift them up and out of those situations. And part of that is accountability and integration. Part of our philosophy is that the accountability and support for the nonprofits we're underwriting is key to success. Measurement is the key. The other point is integration of these services. You cannot work in or you can work in a silo, but it won't make the same impact. So what that means is we really want to make sure that the service providers that we're funding are providing the kind of services that are needed in Renton to Renton residents. In the past, our motto was much more of a shotgun approach. I think that we're in times now that take for a different approach here. All right, and next we are going to hear from the Renton Parks Department.
What I love most about working in the Recreation Division is facilitating programs, events, giving people a place to be, and trying new things.
You know, what I love most about Renton is the diversity of the businesses, of the residents, the plethora of food options, and how we really look after our vulnerable populations.
One thing I love about the parks in Renton is there's a huge variety here. So Kiwanis Park opened up in August of 2023 after about 15 months of construction. It actually came in about 15% under budget. And the project provides the city's first all-weather synthetic infield. It has renovated courts, a renovated parking lot, and also new ADA accessible connections from Union Avenue. We removed an aging activity building and replaced it with a very large picnic shelter that's right next to our new playground. And also put in a new Portland Blue restroom that's easy to maintain and safe to use.
Recreation is always proud of our Let's Go Renton Guide. It's a magazine that comes out quarterly that has all the offerings as well as other partnership opportunities within the Recreation Division and the City of Renton. The recreation programs that are my favorites, I always will go back to the events. It's the time that you can bring community together and share the joy in one common event. Last year was the first year that the city took on full ownership of Renton River Days. Again, it's the 39th year, and the recreation team, along with support from parks and other city departments, is eager to bring one of the best festivals to Renton to date.
We have over 64 contracts we work with agencies in the city of Renton and Greater King County. With vulnerable populations, it's the Salvation Army, St. Vincent de Paul, Agape, REACH, the RSU, Pier Washington. Those are just some of the agencies that we deal with that relate to social services.
Philip Arnold Park was our latest renovation. It opened in November of 2023. This project added a looped walking trail throughout the park. The activity building at Philip Arnold was removed.
You know, we developed a program called HEART, Homelessness Action Response Team. In that program, we have a variety of different social service agencies that will go out and do touch points with our most vulnerable populations, you know, to make sure that we are doing everything we can to provide services and resources to our most vulnerable populations.
We know you love Gene Coulon Park. So we just want to thank the public for your patience as we had two really important construction projects this last year. The first one was the Coulon Trestle Bridge. The bridge, importantly, provides an essential connection not only within the trails of Coulon Park, but those trails also connect to the East Trail and the Lake Washington Boulevard trails. So the other project at Coulon Park was the North Water Walk project. First one was to meet Washington Department of Natural Resources lease agreement. Steel piling underneath the structure was corroding, and so we actually wrapped all those piles as well so that they can remain for at least another 30 years.
One of the greatest feelings is when people choose us as a place to have their celebration, to recreate, to bring their families, their friends, go on an adventure in our parks. If you haven't joined us before, we're eager to meet you.
All right, thank you very much. So the next department I want to talk about is our police department. The police department, what I want to talk about in the police department first is a little bit about the importance of public safety. It really is the most important role the city has, is providing public safety. It's something that everybody talks about. It's something that it's important to everyone in the city. And I'm proud to say that the Renton Police Department years ago decided to move in the direction of, thank you very much. That's the working one. Thank you. I actually don't need it for this one anyway, but the police department has a philosophy. I'm going to oversimplify police work, and I'm sure our chief will cringe when I say this, but if you oversimplify police work, there's really two kinds of agencies. I jokingly call them peacekeepers and warriors. Your peacekeepers are ones that are community focused. They're the ones that are talking and connecting and working with the community. Your warriors are your statistics and data focused. Being a community focused, being peacekeepers is a direction that was very conscious and important in the city of Renton's police department. It's something that you train for, it's something that you hire for, it's something that you bring tools in for, and it's a philosophy that that goes throughout the department. It's just the way we do business in the city of Renton. So the Blake decision, for some of you know, came out of the state Supreme Court. It had a sweeping impact on the way we were able to enforce the drug laws in our state. Some of it was unintended consequences. It was unfortunate. We are part of refining the laws surrounding the public drug use and the efforts to help get people into treatment. I want to thank the council for passing the city's own ordinance ahead of the state's legislation. Yes. We testified a lot. We knew we had to take an active stance in reforming a well-intended law that unintentionally led to really catastrophic public safety impacts, ensuring we can accurately provide public safety efforts and address public drug use and efforts to help get people into the needed treatment that they need. It's a tough decision, and I'll be honest with you, I've been very, very vocal around talking with Congressman Adam Smith and some of the treatment providers, and you know, there's I'm off script here. There's a do no harm or harm protection kind of thought process out there, where we just keep people alive long enough to get into treatment, and unfortunately, it's not working. It's getting worse, right? I mean, the data shows we're up to 1,400 people died from overdoses. In King County, and you know, that doesn't include the number of people that died and were brought back from Narcan. So I believe that there also needs to be some effort around education and telling people it's not healthy or good to to do this drug. It's a different drug. It's not like the drugs of the 70s or 80s. People are dying from it. It's being put inside other drugs. And it's kind of terrifying. And I personally think that we're still not headed in the right direction. I'm hoping that we're going to get some legislation to get more support so that folks are supported and we find other ways to keep this out of our schools and frankly get people off the streets and into help. Public safety is the most important service we provide, and we're not nearly where we want to be just yet. That said, this year we've had some big gains, but we also realize there's on-the-ground experience where there's still car break-ins happening, for example. But we do have some wins. There are some areas that we're doing well in. Our organized retail theft task force. There's a number of areas that we're making headways on. Juvenile crime is one of the leading issues we'll be facing in the years to come. There's some frustration with what's going on with youth and criminal activity. And there's an incredible amount of importance in reimagining how we take care of these kids that have had any number of different backgrounds, challenges, and lived experiences. There's a changing age statistic. It used to be 14, 15, 16-year-old kids that were committing serious crimes. Now we're seeing kids that are 10, 11, and 12 involved in serious crimes. We need to find ways to intervene. We need to find ways to get these kids help. Compassionate accountability. It's not about just incarceration. It's about accountability, which is the missing link in the current approach. We're not saying that you have to go back to the old way, or this way or that way should be the right way. But we've taken accountability out of the mix. If you're going to change direction and try not to incarcerate kids, there still has to be some level of accountability. And you applaud the county for trying to do something. They're definitely going down a different direction. But I think success needs to be more or defined different than just not incarcerating. It needs to actually be getting kids help. Because a victim is still a victim. If somebody was injured or somebody's property was damaged, they're still a victim. Our police department communicates. We do a really good job of that. It's an area that we've done well in for a lot of years, and it's an area that we're actually investing more in. We just recently hired a new communications manager. Hopefully she's here with us tonight. The idea is to provide clarity and transparency to our residents on what's happening and what residents can expect from their police force. The police tech and training. It's not just tools that we're giving our officers, it's support as well. Wellness and mental health support are part of what sets us apart and why we're a different department. I want to tell a little story. So when a new officer is hired, they go through the academy, and often there's this time in between where they're waiting to go to the academy. And so this is the time where I usually meet these officers, and if I get the chance to, I always ask them the same question: why Renton? Because a lot of times they're given opportunities to go into any number of departments. And the last two officers gave me the same exact reply, and it was crazy. They said, well, I did ride-alongs for the last 6 months, and I asked the officer that I was riding along with, if they weren't working in Department X, where would you want to work? And without exception, every one of them said Renton. Both officers said that independently. It goes to say that our department, the reputation, the job they're doing, the way that they're supported by the community and the city, it makes a difference. Yes. Some of the things that make us unique is the training part of it. We're the only department, we're trying to figure out what it is. It's either 300 or 280 degree simulator. So outside of the actual state training facility, we're the only department that has their own virtual reality training center. So when an officer encounters a situation, the first time isn't in real life. They get to simulate all number of different exposures so that they're not making bad decisions in real time. The one thing, back to the wellness thing, I heard this stat the other day, and I know it's close, I may be off by a little bit, but the average person goes through 2 to 3 major incidents in their lifetime. In other words, you witness something that is so tragic, so impactful that you carry it with you the rest of your life. And the average officer has 2 of those a week. So, what they are experiencing, what they're seeing is challenging, and providing them the support and the wellness and mental health support behind that is imperative. So, one of the other things that we're doing is our drone program. We're kind of the model agency for drones. We were one of the first departments in the country to have a drone program. A lot of our officers are actually training other officers in other departments. It used to be when there was a major car pileup, you would see them out there with the stakes taking 200, 300, 400 measurements for the reenactment, for the insurance company, for the courts, for all of the data around this accident. And it would take hours, and traffic jams would be 6 to 8 hours long. And now we have a drone that they program, and it goes up, and in 20 minutes it takes millions of data points. And they're able to actually put that in software and recreate the accident almost exactly the way it happened through those data points. There's now a new program that we're piloting, no pun intended, that has to do with drones, and it is advanced, I don't even know what it's called, but basically it'll be a drone systems where they're out in the community, and if there's a call for service, the drone can be put up in the air to put eyes on the problem. The best example is in California, the drone program was implemented, and there was a call that there was somebody that had a gun outside of a food truck. They were able to get a drone in the air within seconds and realize through visually seeing what's going on there that it wasn't actually a gun, it was a lighter. And of course, then you don't need to send 10 officers there. It leaves the resources for other opportunities. So where we go with that, it's in the beginning stages of it, but it could be a tool to help us be able to deploy resources. We're very proactive on our recruitment efforts. There is a high demand for quality officers. Like I said earlier, we're very selective on the officers that we hire and the type of officer, which reduces the pool down. There's a lot of departments looking for officers. We have one of the most, I don't even know what the right word is, beneficial programs for laterals. We try and get lateral officers as well as new recruits. Lateral officers are able to be trained and out on the street much quicker than somebody that has to go through the full educational process. Prosecution, public safety enforcement doesn't stop with the police department. Our city attorney's office, we prosecute 90% of the misdemeanor cases that are referred to us, ensuring accountability. I think we're on to the video next. Can we show the next video, please?
John Schultz. I've had the pleasure of working for the city for the last 28 years. Absolutely incredible experience. I couldn't imagine doing anything else.
I've been with the police department for over 19 years. What I like about Renton, well, I grew up in Renton, but I like the small town feel that Renton still has.
Genuinely caring and the concern that people have in the community and the support that they give for one another.
There's a lot of opportunity to do a variety of assignments within the police department which gives you different avenues to help the community and tackle crime in different ways.
Some of the most common ones we have year to year would be Coffee with a Cop, our annual Shred-a-thon and drug take-back and food donation event. We have our Shop with a Cop during the holiday season. And over the past couple of years, you've probably heard a lot about our Battle with the Badges, where we bring in agencies from around the region, which has grown significantly over the past couple of years. And so we're trying to build up more programs and partnerships. And so great ways to do that are the Family First Center, working with their team to find ways to interact and build relationships between police and youth, police and community in general. We know that there's been an increase in juvenile crime in our region.
The Youth Academy is one thing that we do sponsor and offer. I was a part of that last year. It was a really fun way and very positive way to interact with youth and have like an educational and just really a relationship developing experience.
We try to engage the community as much as we can to really have them influence what policing looks like for them. And from that, we get a lot of support in the actions that we take.
One of our number one calls for service is what we categorize a welfare check. Welfare checks are concerned citizens, family members that see either a subject, they could be struggling with mental health, it could be substance use, whether it's shelter, medical services, drug addiction services. Those are always offered, especially when we're going out and making those proactive efforts.
So the Direct and Enforcement team, DET, is made up of two teams that we're growing and we want to make larger. And so what they're specializing in right now is a balance between working shorter term investigations in the city, specifically around the downtown core, the downtown districts in our city. They also support our special enforcement team, our investigations division, by targeting repeat offenders or suspects that we have probable cause to arrest. Over the past year, we've seen a reduction in calls for service, and we think that's directly related to their extra patrols and extra arrests that they've made in the area.
We have the most robust drone program, not only in the state, but one of the biggest in the country. It's priceless when you think about the ability to save someone's life through this technology.
We don't always want to expect the community to come to the police department. So when we can urge and we can reinforce and we can promote our officers to go out to community events, to go to local businesses, to go talk to somebody in their front yard, that's the whole basis about the cohort training and building relationships. The prospective officers will talk with some of our officers, but they also talk to outside agency officers and asking, if you weren't working for your organization, where would you want to work? And it's really telling for us that a lot of those officers say the city of Renton because of the culture that we've developed here. And it hasn't been overnight, it's been years in the making. And I truly wish I could take all the credit for it, but I took over a great organization, and it's mine and the rest of the administrator's job to keep us on that same course.
Public Works is the next department I'd like to talk about. Our Public Works has an incredible reach. My notes say you see Public Works in action every single day. The administrator told me the other day, if they're doing a good job, you don't see them, which I thought was funny. I'll touch on a few of our guiding factors this past year, including sustainability, major projects completed, and construction and impact. The addition of EV vehicles, electric vehicles, has been added to the city's fleet and charging infrastructure. So unlike a home resident where you just get a system and you charge your car, when you have a fleet of cars, we need to actually look at the infrastructure it's going to take. So bringing in electric vehicles will be something that'll process through time. Energy efficiency, there's been a number of upgrades to a number of our buildings, including City Hall, Renton Community Center, over the past year. Waste prevention, we were the first city, or one of the first cities in King County to start the active recycling program for residents. And now we're taking a look and working with businesses to see how we can bring that kind of model and technology to business. It's a different lift and it's a different challenge, but it's something worth investigating and trying to help out with. Our water quality reports. Water is something that we take for granted here in the city of Renton, and we kind of, it's kind of okay to, frankly. We have our own water. We don't rely on any outside resources. We do have a connection to Seattle Water, but it's mostly as a backup system. We're very proactive on our monitoring of our water. We went out, I believe, a year early to monitoring the PFAS, which is the forever chemicals, ensuring that our drinking water is perfectly safe. The water department team has done a number of things to make sure that your water is going to be consistently flowing. One of the big elements is communication. The water towers need to communicate. And so that's done mostly on fiber optics line, but they built in a radio transmission line that it created a redundant system, and they can go back and forth without pause, depending on if one of them is down. The Clean Economy 2.0 plan was adopted in partnership with CED. This roadmap of local policies reduces greenhouse gas emissions, enhance environmental sustainability, and prepare for climate change. One of the philosophies at the Public Works is, rather than relying on external agencies to bring all projects to us, we actively partner with them to bring these items to cities sooner than they would have occurred otherwise. Grants for projects. Securing approximately $26.6 million in federal and state grants between 2020 and 2023, which reduces the funding burden to our local taxpayers. Renton Municipal Airport, one of the things we're working on is making sure that Boeing can fly their planes out of the airport, and a taxiway pavement upgrade is underway right now. Another way that we partnered is the Family First Community Center. The construction was completed on this 10-year project, bringing a sliding scale medical, dental, and behavioral health clinic under the roof of this center, aimed at holistic health for the community. It's really a win. It started before I was in office, and it is fantastic. We're lucky to have had Doug Baldwin and the previous mayor brainstorm this, and it was definitely a lift along the way. There are a lot of people involved, but it will be an amenity to that community for years to come. Yeah. Perfect. The Renton Public Market. Design is underway on this home for shops, eateries, and artisanal vendors to provide an anchor tenant in downtown. Traffic calming projects. We identified and completed 7 different traffic calming measures in 2023 based on where they are found the highest speeds throughout the city. So speeding in neighborhoods is definitely on the rise, and I don't know the reason for that. We do have emphasis patrol. There are things that we're doing on our end, but it's definitely on the rise, and residents are letting me know about speeding in their neighborhoods. And so we're looking at ways that we can, in the proper area, put in traffic calming measures, whether that's humps or chicanes or even traffic circles, to help make sure that our streets are safe. Transportation Benefit District for the sidewalks and the street overlay program. We have one of the best overlay programs in the county. Our streets are very well preserved. There's actually a rating system that I won't go into, but in order to keep that rating system up and make sure that our streets are continually safe and easy to drive on them, we've done some things internally. The biggest one was the Public Works Department, instead of just relying on outside vendors and going out to contractors, we actually purchased a paver. So the asphalt is actually laid down by city employees, and enables us to do a lot of patching and actually lay a lot more road, miles more than we would be able to if we were just contracting it out. With that in mind, the most recent purchase or the most recent direction is with the sidewalks. Now that the Transportation Benefit District was approved and we're going to go that direction, we have funding for it, they're buying 2 cement trucks. Instead of once again relying on contractors to provide these services, we're going to be able to provide building more sidewalks in our cities and providing sidewalks throughout our communities. Yes. It is a monumental lift to get sidewalks where they need. We're going to prioritize safe school pathways, places where a lot of people walk. Ideally we'll get them everywhere, but this will definitely get us in the right direction. I had the opportunity to go up to the city shops a couple days. Nothing in my notes, I just thought I'd share this. Is one of the philosophies is up at the city shops, it's not just about being maintenance workers and cleaning and fixing. They're really trying to train our staff to be able to do a lot of this work. And because we've got that fiber optics between the water towers, they went out and had a number of staff members trained in repairing fiber optics. So we have a team of people in the city of Renton that can repair fiber optics. It's such a fantastic idea to not have to wait on an outside group to be able to do it internally. Plus it creates opportunities both between the paving and the cement work. It creates more opportunities for staff members to get more training, more knowledge, become more marketable in the community. Okay, communications about these projects. One of the things with having some of these infrastructure projects that were difficult to navigate, and if any of you have driven down Rainier Avenue recently, you'll see that they have an impact on the businesses in the community. And going back to the idea that communications needs to change, this is an area where we have a huge opportunity and we're pivoting. In the past, the old style of door-to-door and flyers and making a few calls was kind of the bare minimum, but we did it because that's the way things were done. But there's a new opportunity now, and now what we'll be doing with these projects, if there's something like the downtown renovation, is there'll be a web page. It will have video, it will have information, and it'll have two-way dialogue, so questions can be asked. And it'll have the same team leader that will be answering those questions and hopefully informing. There's nothing worse than getting your information on Nextdoor about projects in downtown. So, all right, next we're going to hear from, nope, hold on, don't start the video, I've got more here. How much do we have to maintain and repair? Our maintenance is greater than most people anticipate. You can always see it, and that's a really good thing. Our staff processes around 8,000 service requests a year, 250 miles of sewer, and 20 lift stations that operate flawlessly every day. We operate and maintain an incredible amount of transportation infrastructure, 5,500 stoplights, and over 17,000 street signs. Once again, proactive maintenance is our philosophy. Construction is on major projects. We helped replace the Bronson Bridge. We're extending Park Avenue across the BNSF rail track, the Rainier Avenue corridor, and we completed improvements on Hauser Way. These overall projects are both responding to and preparing for growth and progress, ensuring we have the capacity for housing and amenities and the walkability need.
Hi, I'm Jim Seitz. I'm Transportation Director for the City of Renton.
Hi, I'm Linda Knight. I'm the Sustainability and Solid Waste Manager for Public Works.
My name is Michelle Faltos, and I work as a civil engineer in the Transportation Systems Division.
I've worked for the city for 34 years. I think that's testament to loving to work for the city and for this community.
A lot of times transportation projects can start well in advance of actual completion, so actually to see them done after 10 years in some cases of planning, it's just really rewarding to see the project actually delivered to the public.
The purpose of the Renton Electric Vehicle Implementation Plan is to support future public investments in electric vehicle infrastructure. Excited to say that we're starting to transition the city's fleet to all electric vehicles. What we're doing is first doing an analysis of our fleet. Our objective is to transition our older vehicles that need to be upgraded anyway, so we're actually very strategic in our efforts.
The Transportation Benefit District is a local funding option cities have available to them. Statewide, about 110 cities have developed a Transportation Benefit District. And the reason is that we don't have enough funding for transportation. Unlike a utility, which can charge rates, we don't have that. So we have to compete with other departments for funding of a lot of our critical needs like pavement, restoration, and sidewalks. So the council last year formed a Transportation Benefit District. They formed a taxing district which allows for a 1/10 of 1% sales tax citywide, which isn't a whole lot when you go to the store. It doesn't add more than just pennies, but it adds up to a lot of money to meet some of our transportation needs.
The Rainier Avenue South project extends the previous improvements from Grady Way to South 3rd, and it continues them from South 3rd on to Northwest 3rd Place. And the purpose of the improvements is to widen the intersections at South 2nd and South 3rd. It will install a business access transit lane for buses between 2nd and 3rd. It'll also include a segment of the Lake Washington Loop Trail from Airport Way to Northwest 3rd Place. Other improvements include installing medians along the roadway to help prevent left turn accidents and make the corridor safer.
We're also looking at missing lengths of sidewalk. We have almost 200 miles of missing sidewalk throughout the city. So we do have the comprehensive walkway plan, which identifies where the missing lengths of sidewalks are, and it also shows the destinations where people want to go. So that really demonstrates what the needs are. It's based on safety to make sure that we have really safe routes to our neighborhood destinations in particular.
So the joint utility trench is currently scheduled to be completed on March 29th, which is a huge milestone for the city. It is essentially what we have been working on since the project began in March of 2023. The water main has been upgraded, and that work is mostly complete with the exception of a few fire hydrants that still need to be put in.
Yeah, for the Rainier Avenue corridor improvements, which we've been working on ever since I've been in the city, which is almost 18 years now. It started at Grady Way and have now moved up with the current phase all the way up to 3rd Place North, and will continue in the future up to the city limits.
I'm most excited about this project because it will offer businesses and residents a more inviting environment.
So when it snows in Renton, I get more emails, people complimenting us on our snow removal. That's all out of the Public Works Department. That team does an amazing job up there. Not that I'm looking for it to snow anytime soon. So utility rates, one of the outstanding items that I'm proud of is that as a utility supplier, we keep our rates remarkably competitive. And you can see where we land on our utility rates. As a matter of fact, utility rates aren't the only rates that we're competitive on. We work to be an affordable place to live, work, and play. This is the taxing structure here, and you can see where Renton lies. Our business and operating taxes are one of the lowest in the region. Not only that, our property taxes are also one of the lowest in the region. Our property taxes are actually a very small part of the overall picture. We have a very diverse tax base. It's something that was intentional along the way, which puts us at a very stable place to weather economic changes. Our bond rating. The city maintains a AAA bond rating, which means continue to pay off our debt and have a lower amount of debt per person than almost any other city in King County. This makes us a great candidate for lending when we do need money. The biennial budget. Our finance department handles a complex array of issues, the largest being the biennial budget. And that process begins this year for the years of 2025 and 2026. Outreach campaigns will begin soon with a goal of reaching 10,000 residents to get input on what they'd like to see and how they would like us to manage the budget. And I found out earlier today that there will be the opportunity for individuals here, or actually anybody, to go online and find a link and give us input on how you would like to see us. Little light reading there, working on the biennial budget. Philosophy on how we approach the budget. First, we practice prudent spending and have a scalable approach within spending. The other part is, instead of just raising taxes, we like to get the voter input. Taxing authority is one thing, but having input from the residents on what you would like to see us do and what you would like to see us spend the money on. Do you want new parks? What is it that's important to the cities of Renton residents? Throughout our website, we are committed to providing ways for the public to drill down and see vitals on where their tax dollars are going. As part of the launch of the new website, this is going to be a tool our residents can use to gain insight and ask questions. It's an important part of transparency in local government. And candidly, I could say that city government is the one budget that you can actually see where your money goes. I challenge you to look at the state or federal budget and try and find out where your money goes. Balancing housing growth with economic growth. Property tax doesn't actually cover the cost of infrastructure for housing growth. With the state mandating that we accept more growth, these costs rise, and we are left working to find creative solutions to address this. It's part of that balance we were talking about earlier. A city is expensive to run. Balancing out growth of housing with the balance of commerce. Bringing more housing puts more weight on the infrastructure. When we bring in large business, this helps lighten the burden so we don't have to go back out to the taxpayers. We have a finance video.
I grew up in Renton, and so it's always been near and dear to my heart. My family still lives here in Renton. Been very careful about the taxes that we collect from our residents and our business community. We've continued to keep our rates lower than most neighboring cities. Our property taxes are one of the lowest in our region, as well as our B&O taxes continue to be one of the lowest as well. The city has maintained its AAA bond rating and has very low debt. That gives us capacity to borrow more in the future when needed. This year we are doing a budget survey, and we hope to reach approximately 10,000 community members in order to be able to gather a wide variety of input so that we can use that information to really guide our budget. This year we'll be preparing our biennial budget for future years of 2025 and 2026. The budget accomplishes 4 things. It captures the city's priorities, it explains where the money comes from and how we're going to spend it, and it communicates information to the City Council and the community. State law requires a balanced budget, and just like with household budgets, it means we have to make some hard choices on how to spend the money that's available. In Renton, the city only receives 9 cents for every dollar you pay in property taxes. This is really just a small fraction of the entire budget. The city actually receives quite a bit from business taxes, utility taxes, and water user fees. We need to manage this money wisely because really every year it becomes more and more expensive to run the city. And that includes building and maintaining the infrastructure within the city. This is really why we put so much effort into the city's budget. Our good financial planning ensures that we continue to provide high quality services now and into the future.
Next is our Community and Economic Development Department, which handles long-term growth and potential impacts on our city. One of the reasons economic development has been one of my primary focuses points coming into office is the creation of balance is so incredibly important for long-term health of the city. One of the ways, you know, in describing Renton's change and economic development, and it's been quite a year, and looking forward, it's going to be even a longer year. The city of Renton really is on the map right now. For years in the restaurants, I would hear people say, "Oh, Renton's going to be the next big thing," or whatever, and they would blow it off. And I can tell you that day is actually here. And it's imperative that we plan for it and imagine it, because it's coming no matter what. It's not something we can stop or change. Growth is coming to Renton, economic growth is coming to Renton, so it's really imperative that we manage what's going to happen. There's a number of reasons that Renton is one of the hottest properties right now in the Puget Sound regions. Part of it's the proximity. We're like the center of the hub, right? I mean, we're 15 or 20 minutes from Seattle, 15, 20 minutes from Bellevue. We're close to the airport. We're 25 minutes away from Tacoma. You probably saw the health industry, the healthcare industry notice it first. We have this organic healthcare cluster down in the valley. These different groups, the blood bank being one of them, that moved to Renton, and when asked why, a lot of it had to do with the proximity in the region. The other part is Seattle is getting built out, and Bellevue is becoming wildly expensive to develop. And so, you know, as groups are looking to move into our community, it's important for us to be part of those conversations and make them happen. There's only one reason that a key is in Renton. There's only one reason that the Seahawks are here, and the same reason that we've got the landing. It's because an economic development team was very proactive. We were in a time where we thought Boeing was going to leave Renton, and we needed to find ways to continue to survive as a vibrant community. And you know, taking some of the lessons we learned from that era and making sure that we don't make some of the mistakes along the way really is what our economic development department is focusing on right now. It's really exciting. I mean, you know, having Topgolf choose Renton, you know, it's not by accident. They didn't just stumble in here. And so having these conversations and trying to work with these organizations, and unfortunately a lot of the groups and large businesses that are looking at Renton right now, you know, we can't talk about it until they're here. You know, it's property negotiation, so it's all very kind of hush-hush. I would love to jump on the roof and scream, so is looking to come to Renton. So I just told you the importance of economic development, and what we've done around it is new staffing. This past year, we brought on a full-time economic development director and have invested well in assessing our strengths and finding our strategic and layered approach onto what the future looks like for Renton. She's building a team. I also want to point out that business liaison person was the idea of the economic development director. Looking for public-private partnerships. It's becoming harder and harder for cities to be able to afford to just do everything on their own. That's why we really lean in on the idea of outside groups, whether it be public or municipal, that want to do work in Renton. The best example would be the Bezos Academy. They're providing daycare for, I want to say 30 kids, which is like 12 hours a day daycare. It's free of charge for one of the communities up in the Highlands. The Family First Community Center, that was a partnership between the City of Renton, the Renton School District, and the Doug Baldwin Foundation, and it's not Sound Health, I'm blanking on the name. Health Point, thank you. Whoever yelled out Health Point, it's probably the Health Point person. Yeah, vital partner of the Health Point. The Landing, another opportunity, the Sunset neighborhood, and then the sports courts with the Sounders and the Ray Foundation. So when you go back to what I was talking about reimagining some of our city assets, that really ties in with the idea of economic development. You know, let's be creative and think about what we can do with some of these city assets and not just wait until we have enough money to do it on our own. The downtown revitalization of our downtown streetscape project is more than halfway complete, and we'll continue to work on our downtown civic core vision and action plan. The downtown is extremely important to the residents. They were very vocal when the first time I went doorbelling, however many years ago that was. It was the biggest surprise of doorbelling, you know, into neighborhoods outside of the downtown core, that people were still interested in what our plans were for downtown.
My name is Fatoumata Traoré, and I'm the Economic Development Specialist and also a Small Business Liaison with the City of Renton.
My name is Jenna Estep. I'm the Economic Development Director for the City of Renton. Renton is at the forefront of opportunity in the Pacific Northwest for both large corporations and also small and independent businesses. Some of our big economic development wins over the last year include the Sounders headquarters, Blue Origin, the expansion of Alaska Airlines, Valley Medical, and Children's Hospital. One of the efforts we're working on is elevating our downtown. We are focusing on experiential business recruitment, so businesses that bring in a lot of foot traffic and provide an opportunity to experience something in our downtown. Some examples include a climbing gym, a children's museum, and I think the most exciting part is potentially a World Cup Square, a legacy project to celebrate the fact that FIFA World Cup will be coming to Renton, and we're going to be prepared for that. Another exciting feature is the Renton Public Market. This is an opportunity for incubator space, but also just organic, natural market elements to be in the heart of our city, driving foot traffic and community to the core.
Small and independent businesses are the backbone of our economy here in Renton. That's actually the reason that we created a supported, dedicated, and advocate person to them to allow them to grow, because we recognize their value in our community. It's our goal to make starting a business here in Renton easier than any other places. So we are getting ourselves out there, doing more outreach into the community. We have two activities going on. The first one is the Small Business Think Tank series, which is a great opportunity. It gets small businesses, city staff, and some other partners all in the same room to brainstorm a creative solution on how we can actually make a difference in that small business community in that specific neighborhood. So that's one, and we're also conducting one-on-one interviews with small businesses, sitting down with them, discussing, getting feedbacks regarding how it's been for them to be a small business here in Renton. And my hope is for small businesses to reach out and for them to know specifically they have a partner at City Hall, they have an advocate, and that together we can make changes.
It's exciting to think of what the possibilities are for economic development in Renton in the next couple of years. On the planning side, we've had a lot of movement over the past year. It's definitely a fluid environment in planning. Completed projects from the new Hilltop Heritage Elementary School, serving over 650 students, to the opening of the Home Depot. The projects completed this year have been varied and are serving the needs of our population remarkably well. The planning side of it, it really is a balancing act. It's a combination of a regulatory body and customer service. And I think it's important that we provide both. The regulatory side is really about public safety. It's really about making sure that standards are met and things are done correctly. The public customer service side means that we strive to strike the right balance between the oversight and public service. There are cities, and at one point years and years ago, we were a very anti-developer city, and the issue really wasn't because we didn't want development, it's just that we didn't think customer service was part of that mixture. Now I'm pleased to say that it's actually one of the shining areas of example of public service or customer service in the city of Renton, and we're working to make it better. The other part is the comprehensive plan. This year we launch into our comprehensive plan. The next 10 years inform what the city will become over the next 50 years. Whereas businesses think the short term and quarterly profits, at the city we think in long term, 20 to 40 years for the health of the community. The community your kids will experience, and the community your kids will experience. And we need your input. You'll have the opportunity in the lobby to take a postcard and share your thoughts on the comp plan. I encourage you to do so. It really is the future of how the city will be built out. We have a pressing issue in the city of Renton in terms of planning. House Bill 1110 and the impacts on Renton housing density. This is a sweeping statewide regulation that will change density allowances in residential neighborhoods. We, the city of Renton, has accepted the fourth most density of any community in Puget Sound. We've embraced it, we've planned for it, we know it's coming. The state has the requirement to try and find housing for all the individuals that are moving into our state and the growth of our state. Unfortunately, they're taking a broad brush stroke at this, and it's a punitive action towards cities that are doing it correctly. The impacts of this will be seen in neighborhoods throughout the city. It'll be definitely a remarkable change. We have the TOD area down Rainier and Grady, right? That's an area that we're planning on density. There'll be all the things needed to have that kind of density, right? But you take a single family neighborhood and you start plunking down six plexes, and it'll have an impact on parking, unfortunately, and frankly on some of the other services. So we will keep you informed on House Bill 1110 and some of the other plans. And now we have a video from the planning department.
Renton always has had a great sense of pride when you meet people that are from Renton, people that live here now.
It's not your typical bedroom community. We have all different types of employment and housing, opportunities to live and work in a suburban city and not have to commute.
I enjoy the idea that I'm making a lasting and positive impact on the community.
So the comprehensive plan is the way in which the city is going to grow over the course of the next 20 years. It's required by the state of Washington. It's got all sorts of elements: transportation, land use, now a new mandatory element of climate, and how those things work together. And we have policies and sort of objectives within that. And it sets really a chart for what we look forward towards in the future and how we're going to grow. Sunset is one of the areas where we expect and plan for a lot of growth. You've seen that with some of the new parks and the library and some of the higher density housing that's being developed right now up there. Also downtown, we expect a lot of density around the landing. You've already seen some, and we do expect change over time. And then around the Rainier-Grady area where we expect the transit center to move, and some really high density development over the next 20 years there.
A couple of the projects that we've completed this year are Hilltop Heritage Elementary School, Watershed Apartments, and Seattle Sounders Long Acres. Hilltop Heritage is a brand new school in the East Renton Highlands. It's a much needed school in an area that has a large growing community, and so it's very much needed as it's a brand new school.
House Bill 1110 was passed by the Washington State Legislature back in 2023. What House Bill 1110 requires are certain cities within the state to comply with missing middle housing legislation. It requires local jurisdictions within the state to include missing middle housing types within neighborhoods that allow residential housing. So that would require cities to include duplexes, triplexes, courtyard apartments, townhomes, alongside single-family residential neighborhoods.
The Watershed Apartments is another project that's been going on. It's been about 22 months in construction. It's anticipated that this summer will be the grand opening. It'll provide over 145 affordable housing units. In a growing area with a competitive market, there's definitely a need for affordable housing. And so this was a great opportunity to bring that to the city.
Well, with Sound Transit developing a new transit center, we decided to establish a vision for the community by establishing a new sub-area plan. We developed the Rainier-Grady Junction TOD sub-area plan in response to the new transit center being developed at the intersection of Rainier and Grady. By encouraging development near transit service, we can accommodate a substantial amount of housing while minimizing impacts to traffic systems. We do this by creating compact, walkable, pedestrian-oriented areas with thriving commercial centers so that people can have less dependence on their personal vehicles and be able to get most of their daily needs within walking distance, while also having the option to use transit to access areas outside of the sub-area, as well as to enter it for that matter.
The most upcoming project will be Towns on 12th, starting construction in the summer of 2024. It'll provide 90 market rate townhome units. Kennedale Gateway, is a great opportunity to both get a good amount of residential space as well as commercial office space in one building. A major element of this project is the addition of constructing a new roundabout right at the front of the site on Lake Washington Boulevard that really should help with traffic flow as well as pedestrian safety right in this area. So another really cool project is the Seattle Sounders Long Acres site. It's a really cool site. It not only serves just the Sounders, but also the Sounders youth teams, as well as having this ready for the 2026 World Cup. There's practice fields and lots of facilities to aid the players in health and recovery, as well as training.
We don't have a choice about the fact that we're going to grow. We've committed to 17,000 new households and about 32,000 new jobs. But where that occurs and how that occurs really is influenced by the comprehensive plan. It's really important for businesses and residents to participate and to contribute their opinions and perspectives in the comprehensive plan as we develop it and update it. And what do you like about Renton? What do you want to see preserved or enhanced? And really contributing to what Renton becomes in the next 20 years.
So you will only really see it going up and up from here. And so it's very exciting for that reason.
Well, we've definitely accomplished a lot in the last year, and a lot to look forward to. One of the most exciting things, and they touched on the Seattle Sounders headquarters there, and some of you probably read in the newspaper that the Seattle Sounders just purchased the Reign, which at some point down the road will be the home of the Reign also. Not a lot of, exciting. Yeah, not a lot of cities can boast that we're the home to 3 professional sports teams, a city our size. So something exciting is the FIFA World Cup that's coming to our town in 2026. And when I say coming to our town, the games will be played down in Seattle at the stadium. But honestly, a lot of the activity and action will be happening around the Sounders practice facility. That facility is brand new. It's one of the premier practice facilities in the world right now. And because of that, when the teams are selected by region, there'll be a number of teams that will be selected to the Northwest region. And I don't know the process, but it's typically the more premier teams will get to select first on what location they want to be housed in. And so we will have a premier team somewhere from around the world that will be practicing daily in and around the Sounders facility. The actual games are going to bring hundreds of thousands of people to the Puget Sound in the Northwest. It's going to be amazing. There'll be legacy infrastructure built. It's not the World Fair. We're not going to get a Space Needle, but we will have something left behind, and we are looking to really lean in on this. The Sounders have already agreed to a mini pitch on the Big 5 site in the downtown corridor. The idea would be to build an area that could be for outdoor viewing long past the World Cup games coming to town. You could envision any number of restaurants and shops in that area and being able to stop to watch the third inning of a Mariners game in downtown Renton on the jumbo screen. So it's really exciting. It's yet to be determined exactly what it looks like or what it ends up being, but there's a potential that we will end up with an amenity in downtown, a legacy project, if you will, that will be long lasting and definitely a benefit to Renton. To put this in perspective, I had the opportunity to go to a preliminary meeting 3 years ago when they started talking about the idea of bringing the World Cup to Seattle. And the numbers they gave us were staggering. Last year's Super Bowl was 190 million viewers around the world for the Super Bowl, which is a lot of viewers. But the least watched World Cup game in 2022 was over 200 million. That's the least watched game. It is a worldwide game, and Renton will definitely be in the mix as far as having attention on it. And we intend on leaning in, and hopefully our businesses will prosper because of it, and it'll be a benefit for our community. I want to thank you all for attending. I look forward to seeing you in and around the community. I appreciate all of you that stuck around after the fire alarm. That was, I promise you that was not intended. I hope you learned something a little bit about the city. If you have more concerns or more questions, or you would just like to have a conversation, I'm easily reached through the website. mayor@rentonwa.com. So with that, I want to thank you all very much, and I want you to have a good night.